Hi everyone, and welcome to a bonus episode 11 of Novel Therapy. I'm Kate Fennessy, aspiring author and social media marketer.
And I'm Helen Brown, New York Times bestselling author.
Yes, and this is Jonah.
Jonah, and it's nearly Christmas. And Jonah's saying Happy Christmas. And those people who say he doesn't look like he enjoys dressing up, they're wrong. He loves it. Purr city.
He was purring, exactly. We took a photo before and he was perfectly positioned and purring.
Yes.
So yes, we thought we'd do a little bonus episode because it's just too much fun. And I feel like, you know, when they confess at Alcoholics Anonymous, it's been X amount of time until since my last drink. Well, for us, it's been a few weeks since our last podcast.
It has.
But yeah, we thought we'd do our kind of normal structure, and we're going to start again properly in the new year. But let's do our checkup, Helen. How have you been? I don't know how many weeks it's even been.
I don't have no idea, but I've just back from a wonderful promotional kind of tour, really, of my first children's book, Leo and Rob.
Yeah,
and
how was it?
Oh, look, I wish she'd come. And quite a few people said, oh, where's Kate? Where's Kate? I mean, it started here and you were part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. The Melbourne leg.
Yes, where we had Phoebe, the wonderful illustrator, come, and she was a guest on the show.
She was so lovely.
And then we went out to Phillip Island and had a wonderful night there.
That was really cool.
Yeah,
that was a unique atmosphere.
It was.
Yeah.
And my dear friend, Reverend Ian Turnridge, I never thought I'd have a vicar for a friend.
He's fabulous.
I think it must be light relief from a serious world. But it was wonderful. He took me around the school twice to talk to primary school kids about the book, and he was the first person to read it aloud to children, and it was very nerve-wracking for me because it was the first time I'd ever seen how children, apart from your gorgeous niece,
yes, Isla, yes,
how children were going to react, and I was very, very gratified and moved and impressed, really, by the level of emotional maturity kids have, and they want to talk about death and grief in normal terms. They don't want it wrapped up in weird stories with metaphors. They want to know that it's part of life. And then off to New Zealand and a fabulous podcast, and I hope you're listening, Senior Constable Brian Ward, another new friend.
That's right, and we're going to interview Brian in our season 2, so that's really exciting.
It was hilarious because I've always been a bit nervous of cops, and
I think that's normal.
And he's appearing with his
tense up, like,
I said, is that a bulletproof jacket? And he said, no, it's a journalist-proof jacket. But it was actually a knife-proof jacket.
Oh, gosh.
And he loves this podcast, and his podcast was great too, Cappuccino.
Yeah, it was excellent. I thought he was an excellent interviewer.
He is.
Which someone pointed out to me who is a police officer, like, why are you surprised? Because of course police are good at interviewing, because that's part of what they have to do is observe and listen. Yeah. You know, I didn't think of it like that. Yeah, you know, it's a similar skill really to a journalist in a way.
Yeah, but I thought he'd be more cynical or something.
No, I agree. He was fabulous. Yeah.
Well, so we're hoping to have him as a guest. You will come, won't you, Constable Brian? We love you. And then the fabulous Casketeers we went on, and you would have loved that night. And there wasn't a dry eye when beautiful Kaiora, the wife of Francis Tiffany, sang the most beautiful waiata of a woman who had lost her child, and it was just very deeply moving. Yeah. And then, oh gosh, Poppy's Bookshop met a wonderful young girl who's written also about mortality, and she has been close to the edges herself at times, and there's such beautiful wisdom. And that's another Kate. And then New Plymouth, where we had a sellout lunch and raised $2,000 to help a young woman with her tertiary education. I'd like to do more of that if I can.
I bet you could. And people are so generous these days with GoFundMes and charity things. It's it's exciting to be part of good stuff like that, isn't it? It feels great.
It does.
Yes,
really
it's
rewarding.
Meaningful. Yeah.
And then on to Wellington, and I walked the bridge in your honour.
Oh, thank you.
Because we've often talked about the bridge that your mum left this world from, and it very resonated with me, and the bridge that Sam crossed just before he got run over, and I wanted to show you that it can be done. And boy, it was somber, but I got another layer of healing out of that. It's losing that kind of phobia about a part of the world, you know. It's just a place, and a sacred place, but it's a place. You know, it's not to be avoided or run away from or hated. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. That was, you know, really inspiring for me, and I think I'm already dismantling the bridge. You know, it's already changed its narrative lately since we've sort of talked about it.
Because it is healing and telling your story, I'm sure of that.
Well, that's been such a strong theme of like this whole podcast and this whole experience, starting with Tara, who was so brave and gorgeous back in episode 2, I think, or 3. But yeah, I think it's amazing how if you, I just used one of our words.
That's all right. It's nearly Christmas.
Exactly. It's incredible how just through awareness and being a bit open, you can, you can have things in you which need a bit of shaking up and a bit of reassessing sometimes, and if you don't, they become like a stone that's just trapped, don't they?
And that can become illness.
Correct.
Or just,
it's like a calcification of your bones. It sort of can set in, can't it?
And you know, all of this experience with you, and also meeting people around the book, has made me fascinated with the brain and our responses to trauma, and so I've been doing a bit of reading around that, and it does completely link to what you've just been saying, and what we were talking about in the early episodes of letting go, of experiencing things and then letting them go through your system.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Instead of building all that resistance, which will sort of deviate you on different paths. Letting go is scary. It's like when you leap into anything.
Or out of an aeroplane.
Yeah, but then it's exhilarating.
Parachute. Not that I would ever do that.
No, me either. Ditto. Well, I'll do a little catch up too, and then I'd love to tell you a bit about
where you're at.
The novel progress.
Yes.
When
we'll have to have the clinic then.
Exactly. Yes. Our clinic topic today is kind of Christmas and reflecting on the year, I think, broadly, and I'll give a bit of an update about the novel. But in terms of my checkup since we last met here in the confessional, it's not the confessional, in the clinic, is the main thing has been that I launched a book, really. It's just under there. Sorry,
Kate gave me a copy.
I know, Helen's
and she's given me another copy of another gorgeous book.
I know, that's been a book theme already. Yeah, so this is 7 p.m. Social. So my wonderful friend,
I'm just holding it up,
Katie Jones, who is a fellow writer and friend of mine for many years, and I had this idea ages ago to do it. And another wonderful friend, Libby, who's a friend I've made down in the Mornington Peninsula, designed the whole thing, which was no mean feat because it's a huge task. It's an 80-page document, but what it's meant to do is like help people feel better about social media. So it really explains everything from the big picture to tips and tricks to content to do's and don'ts of every platform. It's just honestly jam-packed with everything I've learnt to date, and Katie as well, about how to, but our feeling behind it is like put some joy back into social media. Don't be overwhelmed by it. Have fun with it. Do what you can do. Don't set yourself up to fail. It's meant to be, it's very playful and silly. There's lots of daddy jokes in there.
I love it. How to use this book. Read it in the bath. You've got me already.
Exactly.
And how much does a hipster weigh? An Instagram.
It's brilliant. Daddy jokes, but it's got smarts behind it. It's meant
to see. Yeah, Grumpy Cat 2012. Poor Grumpy Cat died.
I know.
Jonah was sort of had mixed feelings about that.
I can imagine a little bit of tension there, a bit of rivalry. So it's meant to be. It's playful, Helen. You know, we talked about playfulness this year in our podcast. It's a playful approach. It's genuine. We didn't set out to make money, as we've talked about a lot. Writing is not the path to making money. This is about us genuinely giving people the gift of like, don't stress out about social. It's meant to be fun.
Do you do courses to go with it?
We are definitely going
I would come to this.
Oh, thank you. We actually had a woman ask exactly that last week, and Katie and I messaged each other frantically, said, what do we think? And we said, yeah, we've always discussed it. So I think this for us was step one. And even though, like, I mean, look, we talk about this was a creative project, and we gave birth. It's huge. It took us ages.
What were we doing talking about a novel? This is what you were doing.
I know.
I love it.
It's really cool. So I am quite proud. And yeah, things
who
like
are you as a
branding,
brand?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I'm sexy.
Woo!
Yeah.
I think so too. You're quirky. You're humorous. You're warm. Powerful. We could go on. Fresh.
I love it.
It's cool, isn't it? It's meant to be like this. It's meant to be a breath of fresh air. And there's lots of visual gags.
This must have taken hours and hours.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it really did. And you know what was funny? The part about writing actually doesn't feel like the biggest part. It was the editing, it was picking it through, Libby having to design it, and it was us looking at it going, oh, is that right? Is that right? Like it was a good lesson in showing.
Have you had a book launch? You should have a book launch
for this. Not really. We've sort of done it. We've done it more of a soft launch, but yeah, we talked about an actual physical launch.
I think
Look,
we should.
Here's
another thing I love. If you've never been on Twitter, unless you tick a few of our checklist areas above, we would respectfully say, don't bother.
Exactly. It's very honest advice.
Yeah. I follow that advice.
Yeah.
Oh, look,
so
congratulations,
it's got
Kate.
Oh,
yeah, clever
you.
It's a nice looking thing too.
Yeah.
So what does that
Libby's
cost?
Done that. So that is $30. Basically.
And how do you buy it?
You buy it on my website, which is Paperboat Digital, or Katie's website, which is Miss Morny Penny. That's her blog name. And at the moment, it's $30. It's a downloadable PDF. So you can download it and edit it on your computer screen. You don't actually have to print it out, because we didn't want to.
I'd rather have it like this.
Well, exactly. Yeah. So you can print it out yourself for like $6, black and white kind of things. But basically the idea is you download it, you can print it out if you like and write in it, or you can just do it on your computer. Most people have been printing it out, but for our first edition, we just made it a PDF, so it's easy. So $30, to me, it is quite full value.
Yeah. And why is it called 7 p.m. social?
Great question, Helen. It is called 7 p.m. social because we thought, when can you do your social? Get the kids to bed, have a glass of wine at 7 o'clock, although that might be early for kids to go to bed if you've got little kids. The idea is do it in between times. So we're sort of showing you that social can be done in the little sneaks of time during the week. So we just kind of made up 7 p.m. We thought 7 p.m, glass of wine, she's bored, I'm going to do my social for 30 minutes.
Right.
So we kind of suggested that as a sort of...
Rather than checking Facebook every 5 seconds,
correct.
Which is what I do.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's been quite big.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, if you're having a book launch, I would definitely come along. I would love to be there. I think it's so valuable, and it's an extension of what you've been talking about every podcast.
That's it. It's all my, like I said, it's really all the years of learning in this space are in this book. Yeah. Katie's got her perspective. She's been a micro-influencer and blogger and comes at it from a different angle. So together, the two of us, and we're great friends, and we both get on really well. So we've blended our voices quite.
I absolutely
quite naturally.
Love that.
Oh, that's good.
It. Yes.
So there you go. That's the main thing. And I was going to do a quick thing, but I might switch gears into the clinic if that's all right, because this is related to the novel, in terms of just some updates and stuff that's been.
So happening. Did you put in when we last spoke? Yes. I asked you to put in some twists and surprises.
Helen. Yes, you did.
I said, surprise me.
You did. You know, I never forget my homework. You did say surprise me, and in my pink notebook it's gone, this will surprise Helen a couple of times. So I'll summarize it like this, and I hope you will like this in terms of a surprise. When I started this project, this novel, it was always going to be about being heartbroken and cheated on, and the story of overcoming betrayal and being cheated on to rise up phoenix-like and be a wonderful, cool woman. That was always the nuts and bolts of what I wanted to explore. As we know from those early podcast episodes, I didn't want to touch on my mother's death or a death. I just didn't want to deal with it. So I went to a workshop a few weeks ago as part of the Mornington Peninsula and Frankston. It was called the Mornington Peninsula and Frankston Writers and Book Festival. A bit of a mouthful, but I went there just to support my local area in that kind of space. And I did a workshop with a woman called Tanya Chandler, which was on character development, because I thought I may as well dive in. She had an excellent template of literally 4 pages on a Word doc of things to consider with. And I've been doing that. I've been chipping away at that. Excellent. So I've revisited my characters, all the things we talked about, bringing depth, backstory, making them not perfect. In doing all that, and somehow in this workshop, she said at one point, this woman, she said, what works often well is the simple thing of saying, what does my character want, but what do they actually need? And something kind of clicked into my head where I thought, well, obviously my character wants to get pregnant. Certainly in the opening scenes, that's what we see. My character wants to get pregnant, in brackets, to kind of save her crappy marriage. But what does she need? I suddenly thought, my character wants to get pregnant. What she actually needs is to find out the truth about her mother's death. So I've kind of introduced that in my head to think, she's going to be on this journey thinking it's this, but actually it's going to be this. Wow,
I love it.
Now, what I've decided, I haven't 100% decided, what I think I'm going to do, because I feel that I can play with this respectful way to my family and to my mother, which is that, as we know, that listeners will know, my mother in real life committed suicide by throwing herself off a bridge onto the Monash Freeway, which was a horrific, thing that happened to her and our family. What I'm thinking I'm going to do in the story is have that the mother died of a car accident, a single, only her in the car hitting a tree, which happens quite regularly.
It does.
It happened recently in the media with a football personality, and the family talked openly about it being suicide. But I like this approach because I want to make the family believe, mythologize the fact that she died in a car accident, but the truth was really she did commit suicide. So I want, even in my early messages with Brian, the police officer, I haven't started that process yet, but I'm seeing that the character will do the same thing, that all these years she's going to grow up thinking it was too hard to talk about mum's death and we didn't look at it, but there was that question mark. And I can see a scene or two where the husband says, you're a bloody idiot. Do you not think your mum bloody killed herself? And I want her to go back and face it after her world's fallen down completely. And then perhaps she goes, speaks to police officers, speaks to her father and reconstructs it, which is in some ways what I can see is going to start happening to me. So I feel like it'll mirror where I'm going myself.
Wow.
It'll mean that we must go to the bridge together. Yes. It'll mean that I will go and speak to the police officers who were there for my mother. And Brian, and is it Constable Brian?
Yeah.
He will help me just to even do that. So that's where
he's been very generous.
Oh, he's been so generous. Yeah. And when I'm ready to, I will. Probably over the summer, I'll probably get that process going. So I'm going to change it from a story of betrayal to a story of betrayal that leads to coming to peace with something in the past. And because you taught me from the very start, amp everything up, condense everything, I'll probably make it so that Marae was involved somehow on that day. Maybe she had a fight with her mum. I want some guilt to be involved. And I feel like then I've got a story.
Wow. And maybe Constable Brian Ward has come into this podcast for a reason, because there's a very, very interesting perspective he can offer of what it's like from a cop's perspective to be there, and he was very keen to talk about the trauma that cops go through, and he's had several friends commit suicide because they haven't been able to deal with the harshness of their work. How interesting if you can weave that into, and I'm sure he'd be very generous.
Yeah,
and this is
You're right. It feels like it was all came to me.
And the fact he's very drawn to you and this podcast. I think there's one thing he said.
Yeah,
and I hope he said this: just prepare her that the cops may not exactly remember.
Okay, well that's a good
thing,
because I assume they would.
I know, because it's their life. They're constantly dealing with
that's
people
good to know.
Smashed up on roads or how interesting that is that they're dealing with that. So
that's good to know.
Yeah.
But so I feel like it's given suddenly a stronger purpose to all of it, and it puts in perspective the betrayal and the cheating and the wanting to get pregnant. That'll become secondary in her story.
And I don't know if you've had friends who have, sometimes gone through massive rounds of IVF and huge expense, finally got the baby, and
only
still
to realise
depressed,
still missing.
Still empty.
I know people who've done exactly that.
And if anything, it's made their situation worse.
Yeah,
because
that's right.
The baby hasn't cured it.
Yeah. So look, and I've taken
Very
all
good
those
points to make.
things that have sort of seeped in somehow. I'm realizing the magic in all the things. I was telling this to my sister the other day. Like, I've got my pink book. I've now gone through this very detailed character profile from that festival. So that's been really good. I've actually gone to my slightly dorky roots, which is a spreadsheet. I've actually dumped in a big fervor. I just dumped everything into a spreadsheet.
Good.
I've got a year timeline, so I can know when everyone was born, when they went to high school.
That's helpful.
It's
for
all
you.
there for me.
And now it feels to me like you have got an arc, a structure.
I feel like I've got something
so you won't
now.
Be so lost.
Correct. It's sort of, so that was a big, so I haven't made much progress in terms of word count, but mentally I've made progress. And I feel like I've got stuff now. I've got a father, I've got a stepmother in the story, and in real life. And I'm really excited. All my characters are feeling more 3D.
That's great.
Yeah.
So a great big medal for you.
Thank you. Yeah,
a
so
special award.
Cool. Yeah.
Oh, look, and talking of gifts, that was a metaphorical gift, but Kate has brought me this wonderful Christmas present. I don't know if you're on YouTube, you can see it, but it's called Behind Every Great Woman is a Great Cat.
Yes, by Lulu Mayo. I don't know, have we worked out if she's Australian?
I don't know. It's just brilliant. And it's got a sketch of Audrey Hepburn on the cover with a beautiful ginger cat.
The cool cat with sunnies on.
And it's even got Jacinda Ardern as one of the cat ladies.
And the reason I got this is because my gorgeous daughter Emmy, who is now a little bit financially, she has a part-time job. She has 2 part-time jobs actually. Emmy bought this exact book for not that copy, but she bought me this book for my birthday a couple of months ago. And I just get I fall in love with anything Emmy buys me because it just means so much. It doesn't matter what it is.
It's beautiful.
I started reading it the other day and I thought, oh gosh, I've got to buy this for Helen. It's so...
Well, it's beautiful. I will treasure it.
It's really cute. So there you go. And the other thing is, so moving through the novel, we thought we'd just cover a couple of things in our clinic today. It's more lighthearted clinic, but just about Christmas and about... Yeah, and just looking back at the year, I guess. Do you want to start with some of those things you were thinking about, Helen, like reflecting on Christmas?
Oh, Christmas. Well, there is this thing. My daughter Lydia is a clinical psychologist, and she's told me there's this actual thing where women can have aneurysms about 1 o'clock on Christmas Day and they almost expect it. Yeah, because they've been cooking Christmas dinner. Before that, they've been doing all the shopping, not just for themselves, but for their husbands, because their husbands don't do the Christmas shopping. All caring and cleaning and worry. They finally get the pudding out on the table and collapse. So what kind of a pointless Christmas is that? And that actually changed my attitude to Christmas. Yeah. And so a couple of years ago, thanks to my daughter-in-law Chantel, who came up with the idea, instead of buying a present, we have family Kris Kringle.
Yeah, it takes the hassle out. Yeah.
And this year, it's a little bit more challenging because of the rubbish islands. They're not actually rubbish islands, they're kind of floating things of plastic. And there are 5 of them, garbage patches around the world. The one in the Pacific is 3 times the size of France. Well, we're going to try and help that by only having
waste.
Well, recyclable or second-hand or
that's nice.
Something like that.
So not contributing to consumerism for the sake of
it. Mainly the rubbish islands. Well, I call them rubbish islands, but they're garbage patches. You apparently can't actually see them from space, but it's mainly plastic and bits of wood chip from toilet paper. But look, I can't quite give up toilet paper yet. I know there is an environment.
So much we can do.
There's an environmentally friendly one.
Is there?
Yeah.
It boggles the mind.
Yeah, so that would be better. Yeah. So, and what are you going to do to make Christmas easier for you?
Well, our Christmas is organically turning out quite wonderfully this year because my father moved down to Balnarring a year ago.
Is he right by the beach?
Yeah,
we were driving there.
Really right by the beach.
Sunday. Right.
And my uncle on my mother's side has had a house in Balnarring for years that was tenanted, is that the right word? Had a tenant in it all this time, and that tenant is now leaving. And so my dad, who doesn't usually play this kind of role, sort of got his sleuth hat on and was like, we should ask Paul, the uncle with the now vacant house in Balnarring, if maybe you guys could go down there, because then we could all have a Balnarring Christmas without burdening Dad and Deirdre too much, because we could all stay in this other house, and it looks like it's going to work out. So it looks like me and my sister, my daughter, my auntie, a few people might be all crashing at the newly vacated house in Balnarring. and have Christmas with Dad down there. So that's going to be pretty straightforward, and we'll do the same thing. We have a KK set up, we have, and we'll just all bring some food. Like, it's not trying to be Instagrammable and fancy and perfect. It's just about hanging out and time and space, really.
That is wonderful.
So I'm pretty excited about that. I love Christmas, I have to say. I'm a bit of a Christmas head.
I know, you know, Sam's birthday was December the 16th, and then he died on January 21st. I used to hate this time of year. I used to hate summer, and just the sound of Christmas
music. It can ruin
music.
it for you. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But look, you do overcome that.
Yeah.
If you're listening and you're still in those raw stages of grief, don't worry. You're not
change.
always going to hate Christmas. One of the helpful things I find is to look at children and see their joy and delight in Christmas, and you realise
it's a time of fun and surprises
and
and presents.
Your sorrow is there, but it's your sorrow. It's not the world's sorrow.
It's true. I was just going to say, like, with my mum's anniversary, it's the 9th of April. That day, just to see that date would literally be like a dark cloud of horrible. Almost like an attack, a feeling of an attack, just to see it in print. That's changed. That's not the case anymore. April 9 is a day that anything can happen, like any other day. But I know what you mean. But with Christmas, I have one, like, so my Christmas tragic things include, I always get a fresh Christmas tree. I love the smell.
Me too.
It's just nostalgia from my childhood. I one year went a bit silly.
One on the desk here that you brought today, but that's not real.
Decorative one. One thing I did a few years ago when I was, you know, a young single mum with Emmy, I kind of got frustrated with these little Christmas decorations I had, and I thought, bugger it, I'm going to go to David Jones, I'm going to spend a couple of $100 and buy this beautiful base collection of really sweet ornaments. And now what I do is each year I buy a new one from either if I've been traveling. So each year now I put them on, and I got one made years ago that says grandma. I think I said it to say grandma instead of mum, because I want Emmy to use that word.
Lovely.
And I got Kate, Emmy and grandma, and they're on little porcelain things with it sort of imprinted in. So now when I find when I put up the tree, Emmy will know this, not that she listens to this, but I have a music playlist with all, you know, different Christmas music. I put the tree up, I have all these floods of memories, and I always shed a tear because I always think of mum. I have memories of decorating the tree with mum as a kid. So once I pass that moment, then I just love Christmas. And I love it too, even if I do shed a tear, it's still nice.
We need to cry. Tears are very healthy.
Yeah.
Very healthy.
So I love Christmas.
Yeah. And look, I've been doing a bit of thinking about the year ahead too. And look, I've got this theory. I think next year is going to be the search for authenticity. Because look, we've got American elections coming up. Yeah. It's in danger of being the year of the fake. And I don't think we should have that. And I found that non-alcoholic cocktails, zero proof faux gin, banana flour, nothing's going to be what it ever used to be.
Wow, they're all in disguise.
Yeah. So I think we should just make it the year of being authentic, being our real selves. I think one way in public that you can help that is to actually look in someone's eyes and try and smile. See the soul that's in there. Gosh, that's hard at the moment.
Yeah, I try and do that on my morning walk. Some people won't look at me.
No,
I see them coming and I look and try and smile.
Yeah.
And some just don't.
Yeah. Just trying to get, because, you know, we're only here for a breath of time.
Yeah, that's so
Let's
true.
make it real. Let's treasure every day.
Yeah.
So that was my thing. And I did a little bit of research about the future of publishing and how they're looking at that. And this is very interesting. They're saying it's going to be the era of the authorpreneur.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
what does that mean?
It means, wait for it, building a platform.
Are you kidding?
With a book that's just part of a bigger plan to establish the, wait for it, brand. So this
Why am I not shocked?
There's still a need for real books, print on demand, because people still like books they can hold. And I thought you'd be interested in this popular genres for 2019, the sci-fi, crime fiction, cozy mysteries, women's fiction.
Go ahead, cozy mystery sounds cool.
It does, and historical fiction. But this whole thing of this having a platform is very interesting, because one of the books I read this year was Talking to Strangers by Malcolm Gladwell.
Okay.
And I saw him talking about how he wrote this book and had a slightly different tone to his other books. he said he'd gone around interviewing people with a microphone about crimes and spying. He'd spent an extra $100 on his microphone, so the quality was a bit better. So it was an audio book, just sitting there.
Yeah.
The audio book came out, and then the print book came out, and it's one of the top sellers of 2019.
And that's just that concept in business of leveraging, doing one activity but having multiple outputs.
How exhausting.
I know, but that's what we're doing right now. Look, we're on YouTube, we're on a podcast, and who knows what iterations you might find us in the future. I'm hoping it involves Italy and a retreat and me in a white robe zenning out next to Helen. He'll be in a sparkly robe. So you see what I mean. Oh, that's interesting. I like that a lot. It makes me think of, when you said authorpreneur, it makes me think of me and Katie. We 7pm social.
There you are.
Doing
That's exactly
really
what you are.
That's a non-fiction. And as you say, I don't think of myself as writing a book, but we did write a book.
That's a hell of a book.
We really did.
That's a book to be proud of.
I
don't know how you did that.
Wine and cheese was a big help. No, that was the thing. We did it outside of life, and that's why it took a long time. Between us, Katie has 2 kids. I have Emmy. Libby is partnered with stepchildren, or however she calls that. But so we all work, but we just squeezed it in. So it just shows what you can do by the old chipping away method.
Yeah, and doing it from a place of fun.
We did it from a place of fun.
Yeah.
We wrote a list on our first official meeting, and we literally wrote down, why do we want to do this? To learn something from each other, to have fun. It's not about making money. We just wanted to do something creative together.
Well done, you.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, likewise, as we wrap up this bonus episode, I was going to do a quick visit to Planet Social, because one thing we've been doing pretty consistently throughout this podcast is been talking about social media stuff, because that's the world of my work.
And it's interesting on my trip, the number of people who said they enjoy this segment.
Oh, that's good. That's good to know, because I think when you're in it, it's not as interesting to me, obviously, because I'm in it, but I forget that a lot of people are not as exposed to it. And it's everywhere. Now. That's exactly, that's so true. So like you did with publishing, I did a little bit of a dip into sort of what people are talking about for next year. I had a look at some thoughts. People around this time of year are obviously forecasting ahead. What are going to be the trends and all that kind of thing. So some of the trends that I saw and agree with are, one, ephemeral content, so stories. And I've been saying this since last year, but stories on Instagram, that a report early this year stated that they're growing 15 times faster than the normal feed. So that's certainly the case, but stories are now being used by 500 million daily active users.
But don't
globally.
Stories disappear very quickly?
Ephemeral.
Oh, God.
So the reason people like
depressing for a professional writer.
But it does gather, it's archivable. So yes, but the reason people like it is its very nature. The fact that it disappears gives people, I think, a feeling of, who cares, I'm just capturing the now. It's putting us in the present. And for years when I was in this social space, like 5 years ago, for example, everyone talked about live being a big thing. I think this is the bit that took hold. Not so much lives, because we had some disasters in the live space, which is where mass murderers filmed live, for example.
Yeah.
So, but with stories, it's live and quick and it disappears. And I think that's what's really taken hold. So stories, Instagram, Facebook has them as well. Really, they just took over Snapchat. Like Snapchat, in a sense, got gobbled up by Instagram stories. So that's one thing. Another thing is TikTok. You may have heard of this new platform that's kind of launched. I think a few years ago, Twitter had a version called Vine. It's essentially mini, really small videos. And at the moment, it's being used by young people, but as a person in my position, you have to notice that it launched in 2016 and it now has 500 million monthly active users. So that's something to keep an eye out for, but it's very much the sort of generation who are kind of basically high school kids and younger. So for most businesses, we probably don't have to really worry about it, but it's just good to know what's going on TikTok. The other thing is, I think, IGTV. We're going to do an IGTV together, Helen, because I did one on Paperboat, my own Instagram account, and do you know what I noticed immediately? A huge rise in engagement.
What's an IGTV?
IGTV, you know how you just said stories are not permanent, how annoying? It's a permanent version.
Okay.
So IGTV is Instagram's version of having a little video section. It's their attempt to copy like YouTube. So IGTV stands for Instagram TV. And it is a different whole setup. You upload it on your desktop. You can do cool things with it. Most people do it long way, like with their phone upright, portrait. So you have to squeeze in. If you're doing an IGTV, it will be like this.
Yeah.
But I've noticed it. I use it for a few of my clients. I get an influencer to do IGTV content for one of my clients' products, and it does really well. And I've just noticed it much more this year. So I think it's going to become the norm next year. So we'll talk about that. It's really fun. And then what else? Product discovery via social media, I think is interesting. So there's a study saying now 50% of people are going to see your product for the first time as a picture on social. You know, no longer maybe as a Google, something they've searched in Google or an ad they're seeing. They're going to see it in your content. So holding up your book and saying, available now is clever. Influencer marketing, people are still talking about. I think that's only going to continue. And then this is an interesting one. The digital detox is apparently a trend.
Oh, I like the idea of that.
I thought you might.
Yeah.
So what the stats are is that all the platforms are still growing. So it's not like the world has plateaued its social use, but people are starting to switch off. So I got a stat here. This is from the UK. 1 in 3 adults are now consciously reducing social media usage. 6% of users have removed an app for a time from their phone, like Facebook. And 8% have permanently deleted accounts. So we are seeing a new trend of people going enough with the disruption. So I find that quite interesting.
1 in 3 adults
are reducing their use.
Yeah.
So I think people are now aware, and you know, if you've got an iPhone, it'll tell you each week a screen time.
Yes, I know,
report.
that's depressing.
It can be quite alarming.
Yeah.
Especially in my line of work.
Yeah, well, you're working, it's all right.
Well, I know, but I still am a human, and I still ought not to be I still sometimes get the gears are spinning too quickly, and you're just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling.
Yes.
And I just sometimes have to slow down. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's all quite interesting. But I love your point earlier about authenticity. I think that would be my last point about social next year. Be authentic. All those trends point to it. Stories is about authenticity. Jumping on IGTV, and we were talking before we recorded that some people still aren't sure how to use podcasts. So we were like, well, let's make a video and we'll show me using it on my phone.
Because I met a lot of readers in New Zealand who just didn't know how to connect to this.
Well, we'll
podcast.
do that. We'll do that. We can do an IGTV because it sits in your feed, and we'll show you how to connect to podcasts because we want people to listen.
And you know, listening to all of that, and it just makes me think people need animals more because they are authentic, and with all this kind of energy that's so dispersed, an animal, there he is on the floor, fast asleep, still wearing his bow tie.
I'll post the photo because he looks very cute.
They are so present. They are actually,
they bring you into the present.
They are one of our greatest teachers, unless you can actually do some brain work, which I've been trying to do.
Brain work?
Yeah, I've been reading a lot of books about the function of the brain. Yeah,
good.
And so that I'm more aware, and I don't use my reptilian brain so much, and my emotional brain. I can notice when that's operating, and then try and use my frontal lobes more.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe you could get a special helmet designed.
Oh, Philip's got one already to tell him when he's meditating properly.
That's brilliant.
So you need to get
a photo of that. Oh my god, that's so funny. I love that. That's I'm inspired.
So we
by
need
that.
a lot more awareness, I think. Self-awareness, awareness of others.
And just on the cat note, because again, for those who've listened to the series, I lost Milo this year, which was so sad. And I'm sort of silly, but I haven't moved his bowl yet or his beds. No, we haven't put him in a pot yet either. I will get to that. However, I think it's becoming clearer and clearer that Emmy and I are going to get a new kitten after Christmas, and Isla's going to get involved, and so that's going to be exciting. So expect some kitten spam on the podcast group. Wow. How cute's that going to be? Because Forrest is so lovely. He's got the nice temperament, so he will welcome a new cat, whereas Milo would have actively...
Well, Jonah would be the same. I wouldn't dare bring another cat in here.
So no, I feel good about next year, and I'm kind of excited, even though it feels like the wrong word, about this event we're going to put on to honour Mum's 20th anniversary.
In April. I'm so pleased you've come a long way with that.
There's real, whatever the word is, people are on board. I can see food, people telling stories, photographs. It's just going to be a celebration of Mum.
And where are you going to have it?
Don't know yet. We haven't figured that out. I reckon maybe we might get like a room in a pub somewhere, and a bit like with my brother's 50th, get our own space where we can hang and it's relaxed, and maybe somewhere around that Parkdale, Mentone area where Mum grew up. So let's see. But that's going to be really cool. I'm so excited for that. I'm excited for the kids, for the next generation, like for Mum's grandchildren. I want them to get to know Mum. It's really important to me. So that's going to be really nice. I feel positive about it.
Yes. And she's more an integrated part of who you are now.
I want her in our lexicon. I don't want her death to dominate her. I'm sick of that. I feel like she's repressed by that.
Yeah.
It's not right. She was more than that.
And take the best of her and put it in you. Make it part of you.
Yeah, exactly. So this year's been pretty great, I think. But I think next year's going to be.
And we're going to talk. I had 3 questions for you.
Oh God.
Yeah. How are we for time though?
We're getting there, but that's okay. We're nearly there.
What surprised you about this year?
Oh,
2019.
This year. Well, I think this process and stirring up these old memories has surprised me. I think I probably have had more work to do on my inner stuff than I thought. I probably had a bit of a tight lid on things, and it surprised me that it's not as scary as I thought. I really think of that time with Tara as the start of the breakdown or breakthrough.
That was a very special
episode. It was a big moment,
yeah.
so I really have to keep thanking Tara, because it really hit me, the bravery of her telling her story and me realising from going, oh no, I'm not doing that. You're lovely and brave, that's awesome. But now I'm like, no, I am going to do that. Yeah. So that surprised me. I think a lot of that surprised me.
And my next question is, what touched you this year? Oh, I'll say what surprised me. What surprised me was that Cleo and Rob became a bestseller in New Zealand. I never wrote it to be a bestseller, but my New Zealand readers, they're just so generous and fabulous, and they so completely got it. So I'm very grateful and thrilled for Phoebe too, you know.
Yeah, Phoebe was gorgeous. Yeah. I loved meeting her.
And it goes off to Bologna Children's Book Fair in March. So let's hope some other countries take interest in it.
Yeah, but I'm not surprised by that, I have to say, because I just thought it was wonderful.
So my next question is, what touched you this year?
What touched me? I think Milo's passing really touched me. That was a huge emotional... That really ricocheted through my whole being. And I don't know if it's... I was proud that I was able to cope with that by myself and get through it. And I realised how special little Milo was in my life. Yeah, so his passing really touched me. Yeah, and I still miss that little fluffy, grumpy head.
Someone I met in New Zealand said she had to pull over to the side of the road when you spoke about your mum in that episode where we really started to dive into grief.
Yes. We only took 8 episodes and the death of my cat.
I love that we have managed to weave in lots of laughter among sadness, and this has been fully alive, you know, not so happy all the time.
I had a photo from that exact moment where I'm laughing and crying at the same time. You're laughing and smiling, I'm laughing, and you can see I'm crying, so it really captured it. So what about you? What touched you?
Well, look, honestly, and I did mention it earlier, it was when Ian read the book to those school kids, and your beautiful niece Isla, those responses to the book, just, oh gosh, young children are so precious. Yeah.
They're honest
and
real.
Our greatest gift to the world.
Yeah, and you're right, they're not stupid, and they don't need to be cocooned and protected from things.
No, because bad things are going to happen to them. We need to give them tools, to realise that life's not just going to be one long Disney ride. You know,
there's more to it. Yeah.
So that was amazing. Now we're even. We're even. And Kate, my third and final question. Yes. I often ask myself these questions at the end of the day, and it's quite a good little practice.
Cool. Yeah.
So, what inspired you about 2019?
What inspired
2019.
I know.
Yeah.
Isn't that incredible? I don't know, Helen. I feel like you have inspired me, and I know. Look, I said it at the end of the last episode, but what's inspired me is creativity, and like the realization. You said it once, and I think I put it as a quote, that actually, you said something like, what is more creative than actually living your life to its fullest potential? Like that in itself is the ultimate expression of creativity.
I love it.
That inspires me.
Yeah.
Because it makes me realize it doesn't matter what project I'm doing, whether it's 7 p.m. social or trying to chip away at a novel or make my business better or be a better mum, or I'm about to read 8 books of Emmy's literature in English just for the fun of it. That's creativity.
Yeah, it is.
And I've already started thinking my word for next year is just going to be create. I feel so proud that we created 7 p.m. social. Yes. I'm proud that I've made progress on this novel, even though it seems very slow. So that's kind of
you
really
can take 10 years
me.
to write a novel.
I know.
Don't worry about
it's just it's that sparkliness I've talked to you about that I now see everywhere. In those early episodes, you talked about look up. Something so simple, 2 words, look up. I wasn't looking up. You know, I was going on that walk every morning, and I didn't even see this amazing, creepy, interesting house behind me until the day I said, look up, look around. And I was like, oh, look at that house. The house is cool. Could be a story in that house. And I've been so busy being good and tick the boxes and do my job, do this, be a good mum, like I forgot to just...
You're a human doing, not a human being.
Yes, and I forgot to invite sparkle, magic, I'm believing again in all those things. That's pretty huge, because that's like a thing you can't anticipate. How would I have thought that this process would have led to that?
Well, you know, when I thought about what had inspired me about this year, you were very top of the list, because, you know, it's a pretty isolated life being a writer, and especially in in the life I live, and you've brought so much energy and life, and I've been very inspired by younger women on the whole as well.
Well, we've had quite a few on this.
And it feels like a real honour, and I love being involved with your lives and feeling included, and that, you know, you want me around. And look, we've got Lizzo. I'm inspired by her.
No, she just keeps getting better, doesn't she? Did you see her at the VMAs with her tiny bag? And she wrote on a sort of meme, she had she written above the tiny bag, all my problems in last year, and then she sort of wrote me next year. Like, in other words, she's just so big and fabulous, and her bag was tiny.
She's gorgeous.
She's a legend, Lizzo. Yeah. She's our spirit animal.
Yeah, and I'm so inspired by your enthusiasm and the way you light up a room.
Thank you.
Keep doing that thing.
Well, it's just so true, and I think my auntie's talked about it, who's of your vintage, that it's so lovely that we're from a different era in a sense, but it's so rich and rewarding to connect with the way we spoke with Phoebe about her creative process, and with Tara, and we, you know, like, and Kate, who's running a business, like we can all learn from each other. It's just that simple act of talking, isn't it?
Yeah.
And this podcast has given us an excuse and a structure to do it.
Yeah.
But it shows you, as you say, like, look people in the eye, talk to them. Yeah. Get your nose out of your phone. Yeah. Because there's so much to be learned from each other.
And there's so much more work I'm afraid, women have to do, beating
we've got a lot on
the
odds.
Agenda. Yeah, there's an awful lot, and I would do anything I can to try and support younger generations of women through that, because it's not finished.
We all need each other to help each other. Agree.
A good sisterhood.
Yes, agree. I was going to say, one question to you is very important. Have you watched season 3 of The Crown?
Oh yes, I did.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I didn't love as much as the earlier ones, and it came out around the same time as Andrew. I was watching it just before Andrew did his thing.
It's been fascinating.
This year it's going to be the year of Prince Andrew.
I think it's gonna shake the foundations of the royal family forever. Yeah. I don't think it'll ever recover. No. Which I find I can't help watching with glee, because really it's quite ridiculous.
So did you love season 3?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Look, I love Olivia Colman's performance. It was a bit of I don't think it was the right choice for the producers to suddenly switch this cast that was doing so well. Yeah. Claire Foy as the Queen was so fabulous. The young Prince Philip was hard to replace. They were all amazing. I love seeing Helena Bonham Carter.
Yes,
she was great.
Princess Margaret.
I enjoyed it, but as you know, I'm easily impressed. So
I'll keep being easily impressed.
Walk around going, amazing.
That's a talent.
No, I did really like it. So yes, that's a shout out to the Crown. But I think everyone in the world's watching it. So it's the top Netflix show apparently.
Oh well, it would be.
Deservedly so. So who knows what fabulous things. Let's hope there's like a new Fleabag next year or something.
There's got to be.
There's been some good series this year, but Fleabag was a highlight, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was awesome. Well, I reckon that's about it. Do you feel the need to diagnose me with anything?
Oh, I think you're progressing really well. I don't think you need to see a specialist.
No ailments.
I don't think I need to refer you to any other specialists.
Good to
at the
know.
moment.
We've seen a few already, so that's good.
I've
seen a few specialists from industry. I always come away very sobered and full on. I saw one the other day, like a publisher, and I left just thinking, what the hell am I even thinking?
Did she put you off?
Yeah, totally.
What did she say?
She said, right, her last message was right for joy.
What? Having
given up on all your dreams, basically. I was like, oh.
Whoa.
No, it was okay. Jude handled it better. Jude didn't crush dreams. Jude just gave an insight from the industry.
Yeah, it's a tough industry.
This woman crushed my dreams a little bit.
They have... Duke actually was here for lunch on Saturday, and I said to her, I've been doing some research, and the publishing industry has had 0% growth in the last 5 years. And she and Philip, my husband, they're both quite quiet, and Philip said, well, actually, that's quite healthy by today's standards. It's not a negative.
Point. Yeah, well, every industry's changing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good
point.
But
we do need to be entrepreneurs, but we're that already.
That, exactly, with our million
I love that you just suddenly gave birth to 7 p.m. social.
Yeah, me too. It was cool. It was like I didn't know I was pregnant. That kind of thing.
You gave birth on the back of a car
with a pot of wine
and a plate of cheese.
Exactly, and a passerby. And that was it. No, it was a great project.
Well done.
So we'll keep going with it. And thank you for... I'm glad you get it, because we definitely wrote it to be warm and funny. And it feels like you kind of see
I don't
that. So
only get it, I need it.
Good. Yeah. There you go. All right, well, that was fun and fabulous. Who knows when we'll pop up again? You just never can tell. But we're thinking sort of Feb is the rough plan.
Well, I'll never say never.
Well, you just never know. We might be too excited and speed it forward to January. But we definitely are appearing in March. We'll give more information at this Peninsula Writers Club, I think they're called.
We're going to be on
event.
stage.
I know. We're going to be in Mornington. It's in the back part of Mornington. Is it Mornington or Mount Martha? Anyway, somewhere on the Mornington Peninsula.
That's around
Melbourne,
be live. Overseas people.
Yeah, it's a sort of it's kind of the start of a holiday part of Melbourne, if that makes sense.
Where's that going to be? March.
It's March.
Because Cindy might be visiting from Canada.
Cindy, you could be there. It will be very exciting, and we've got to think about our structure, but we'll have probably we'll have like live questions, because they want to know about the actual act of doing a podcast, among other things, and they'll certainly want to hear from Helen, who I think it sunk in that night with the dream crushing editor. I was like, Helen has sold 2 million copies of Cleo. That I just kind of drove home going, that's actually wild.
It is a bit wild.
It's actually crazily out there. And after hearing her thing of like 10,000 is what you can expect, and you get
10,000 is a good bestseller from
Australia. Oh my God. Helen's a phenomenon.
Oh, well.
I sort of think I didn't realise it. So that's probably...
Well, I don't realise it either.
I do remember I'm going, that's actually amazing. Anyway, so there you go. So, yes.
Yeah,
I think
fabulous.
That's kind of
well, everyone have a very Merry Christmas if we don't speak
and
before then.
A tip from Helen, and do something to make your Christmas easier and more manageable.
Amen.
Yeah. And amen, or... another option if you
what
wanted
do you
to
say?
not.
Namaste.
Yes.
I don't know.
Cheers. I'll say cheers. All right. Well, happy Christmas, everyone. Happy New Year if you don't hear from us again until the New Year, but who knows, you may.
And thank you for all your wonderful support through the year. Oh,
absolutely.
We've had listeners from all over the world. Denmark and weird places. Cool.
Yeah, all over the place. So thank you so much. And we're so excited for season 2. And we're going to have a brand new look, because we're all about branding. No, we're not. But we're going to update our logo. So that's exciting as well.
Yep.
Fresh for season 2. So tune in. And in the meantime, let us know any recommendations. We're always up for good shows on Netflix. So please, or anywhere, or good books, please pop them in our group, because I'm always up for the next thing. Yeah. Right.
And any suggestions? Maybe one day we will have a workshop or something like that, or we could do this live show in other places.
Exactly. So always let us know any ideas you have and how you would like to pick this brain over here next to me.
It's not much of a brain.
Well, I thought you were getting control, like you were working out your lobes and all that. All right. Well, everyone, have a good one, and we will speak to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.